in a way, you're bridging spirituality and science.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit of how you got started with this healing journey and your healing process.
You know, I almost killed myself when I was 13, dealt with severe depression for probably 15 years, a lot of mental, emotional just struggles, a lot of trauma, and through just trying to feel better and trying to get to a place where I felt like I loved life. And I've made a lot of choices that have led me to have just an amazing, luxurious, fulfilling experience. And people started asking me how to do it for themselves. And it started getting really supernatural. It started getting kind of unbelievable, actually. But then there's this other section of the population I find that are more skeptical. They need something concrete. They need evidence. They need something that is repeatable, measurable, that can be proven, and they need to have their prefrontal cortex satisfied. I completely relate to that because, again, I was raised with an understanding of science. Carl Sagan was one of my huge inspirations growing up. I watched The Cosmos. It was this 13-disc set, like multiple times over, about the universe and how everything works. I studied physics all the way up through relativity. And just in high school, I was doing E equals MC squared on an equation to figure out an answer to a problem, and it worked. And I would get the right answer. I'm going, wait a minute, I'm using Einstein's equation, and this is in high school. So then by the time I was in college, I was studying quantum physics and understanding how the world works on a micro level, because the relativity works on a macro level. But then I started asking, how does any of this actually apply to our life in a practical sense? How is this going to improve my experience on the day-to-day? And that's where things started to get really, really interesting.
Yeah, because understanding how the world works, it's even like the fractals, the Fibonacci, you can get more and more and more. As you said, you went into the micro, but you were also talking about the universe and the cosmos and the big galaxies. I know that also you went into India, and that was part of this journey. So can you explain what are the biggest takeaways that India got you? Maybe not get so much into the story, but
sure.
What is that practical application, if we wanted to say, about going to India for a year?
Yeah. So I remember in college, everybody's asking, what are you going to do when you graduate? What are you going to do? You know, what's your plan? Some people are saying, oh, I'm doing an internship with Coca-Cola, or, oh, I'm going to go work for this film production company, or, oh, I'm going to work for this company. I just thought, I just want to do something completely different than what any of these people are saying. None of this sounds interesting to me. So I just bought a one-way flight to India and backpacked around for a year. And I mean, I was treated like a king. I was totally, I was drugged and robbed on my third day. I mean, it was the most extreme good and bad experiences super close together the whole time. And I actually wrote a 32 chapter novel that just started out as a journal that I need to publish, actually. But the biggest takeaways were really just getting street smart was one thing, and understanding, coming from a high trust society in the US to some place where morality sort of blows in the wind, but then also this more intimate joy that everyone has, this genuine warmth there that compared to the US, is so cold. People are very closed off comparatively. And that, I think, was really the most important thing that I realized in life, is connection with other people, genuine vulnerability, genuine, authentic connection. And that's, I think, something that can only be known through an experience and then embodied within oneself. And you'll notice that when you change and you start to connect with people more genuinely and more warmly, instead of waiting for other people to connect with you the way you want, they will reciprocate, and the people in your life will start to treat you differently because they feel that you are different whether it's someone you're passing by in an airport or whether it's someone you've known for 20 years. It doesn't matter.
How would you shift someone from the mindset of, but I've tried being a good person and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Why should I change for the world to change?
I believe that you're the creator of your reality. And when people say, I've tried, that's what you did. You tried. You didn't do it. You didn't actually go deep enough into the thing and fully commit. You tried it so you could say that you tried it. I just don't buy the story that we're all victims. You are if you believe you are, but that's no fun. Why would you want to live in a world or live a life where you're identifying that you're a victim of anything all the time? When we get out of that victim abuser triangle and we start to take accountability and start to take ownership for what we're creating, start to have compassion for people that are in ignorance, people are just showing us what they believe about themselves with the way they treat us. I really stopped taking that personally to a large extent when I realized that this is a mirror. You are me and I am you. And it sounds cliche, but it's true. We are one. And, you know, to treat somebody else the way they want to be treated, and you're now being of service, and it gets you out of yourself. It gets out of your ego, your poor little me story, and you're focused on somebody else. You can't suffer in that moment because you're thinking about another's life. You're thinking about what would love do for this person right now. And your attention's no longer on what do I want, what am I not getting, and your misery just goes away. When you go deep enough into this, things start to get yeah, that's where that magic starts to come up. And so that's where I'm interested in measuring and testing and proving, so people can. What I've noticed is that when miracles happen, it breaks apart somebody's belief system.
Yeah. I was listening again to the podcast and you talked about a friend that manifested $2 million by being in this frequency of abundance. And it also broke away your mindset. Do you have any other stories that have happened maybe to you or to your clients after understanding how the universe actually works?
Did I talk about my flight pass?
No.
So when I heard of my friend who manifested the $2 million, someone else mentioned that they had this flight pass. They could fly anywhere in the world for next to nothing, just the taxes, almost free. And I thought to myself, I want that because I love travel. I love to go all around the world and jet set, but it's really expensive. And that year I had traveled about every 2 weeks. I had taken a flight to a new country. I was traveling constantly. I think I hadn't stayed in one place for more than 3 weeks that year.
Wow.
Yeah. And I thought, well, this would be great. So I committed to 30 days. I just committed to meditating every day on a flight pass and having that and what it would feel like. So the thought was the flight pass. The feeling was the freedom, the abundance, the excitement, the joy, the adventure. And I would sit and I would meditate on that for about an hour every day. And one day after about a month, my best friend at the time says, "Hey, Scott, I've decided to become a flight attendant. And I get this one extra companion flight pass, and I can't think of anybody better to give it to than you. And I know you'd use it, so it's yours." What? So it came out of nowhere. I said, you know, I've been meditating on this for about a month, right? She goes, "Oh, yeah." And I ended up having this flight pass for 3 years, and I was able to go anywhere for free. So for me, it was another proof, like what that would never have come to me. What? Oh, it's just a coincidence. Okay, right, sure. So I've let me think of another one.
With my ex-partner, have you heard of Lifebook?
No.
John and Missy Butcher?
No.
Well, big personal development people from the Mind Valley space. And my ex-girlfriend did this Lifebook, which is like a personal development course. And every night we had this practice around manifesting something. And we say we want to manifest a couple like John and Missy Butcher. Like John and Missy Butcher. And we did that maybe for, again, like 2 months or something. And we just say it. We weren't feeling into it, but we felt it when we were saying and thinking about it. We go to Genius annual event. We met Evan Carmichael, who's a big famous YouTuber guy. Then he says, hey, let's go salsa dancing. I go there, and in there's a couple, right? And we meet them, and it's like, hey, what's your name? Blah, blah, blah. Justin and Madeline, J and M, right? Okay, cool. Oh, and yeah, tell me a little bit more about you. Yes, that my father is John Butcher. We literally manifest the kid.
Their kid, yeah. With the same initials.
With Justin and Madeline Butcher. And he's become a good friend
really?
since that. But it was like literally like
so that. Was there some sort of mentorship that came out of that, or just the relationship?
He became a client for a while.
Okay.
He became a client for almost for a year, and it was great because we launched his podcast and we did a lot of cool things together, and we try to keep communication with him.
Yeah.
But it goes again to show of the specificity of trying to bring something into fruition. It's going to happen. And the timeline sometimes is not to whatever you want, but it will happen.
Yeah, the how is none of our business. And these moments when you start to celebrate them and you give gratitude and thanks, like, oh, yes, then it actually starts to expand, because where your attention goes, energy flows. Where you put your energy expands. Yeah. And so I was actually explaining to my father over dinner 2 nights ago, and I'd love to share this with you, the quantum physics element of how this works and why manifestation is a real thing. And when you start to practice this, you'll notice it started happening to me when I went really deep. Every time I call somebody, it seems like almost, they'll go, oh my God, you're not going to believe this. I was just thinking about you. Or, oh my God, I was just doing one of your meditations. Or, oh, hey, I was just reading this book that you recommended me. And I was really thinking that I wanted to talk to you. Like, why are you calling me right now? It happens so much now. I go, so I am this unicorn mystical moment for you right now? Like, I'm the magic in your life? Like, whoa, cool. I'm so glad to be able to be used in that way for somebody to be their manifestation. Like, that's so cool. I'm so grateful. It's humbling, right? Because I know there's something greater at play here, and it's always a good reminder. So when I was studying quantum physics in university, when you go down and you look at subatomic particles, we'll look at, let's start with an electron, right? And we want to know where it is. Well, how do you look at an electron, or how do you look at an atom? You have to bounce a photon off of it. That's light, right? So you have to use an electron microscope, and the only way to see it is by seeing where I'm just looking at the photons that are bouncing off, right? Mm-hmm. So now, okay, there it is. We have the location, but we don't know the velocity. We don't know how fast it's going. We don't know what direction it's going. And everything's always moving all the time. It's always vibrating. Huh? Yeah. So, okay, if we want to find the velocity, how fast something is going, we need to know 2 points. And we need to know the time that it took to get from one point to the next, right? So now we know how long it took from point A to point B. So in order for that to happen, we need to measure the second one. So we bounce light here, we bounce light here. Now we have the velocity, but we actually don't know at that scale exactly where it is anymore, and where it was in between, or what direction, because when you hit the particle with a photon, there's a little bit of a transference energy that's going to change the direction of the angle that it's traveling. So it was going here, but now it could be going that way, this way, that way. We don't know which direction it is. Mm-hmm. So there's this weird part of reality when you start to go down into subatomic and this very micro scale level, that you actually cannot know with any level of determination the location and the velocity of a particle at the same time. You can only know either the location or the velocity. And so this is called Heisenberg's uncertainty principle.
Okay.
And they think, okay, well, then we just have to describe it as a wave of probability at that point. Where is it? It's possibly here, but possibly there. It's more likely here than it is there. So with the equations, mathematically, they start to create these waves of probability, and electrons have orbitals. So when I was taught in school, elementary school or middle school, the atomic model, we think of electrons as these little points, these little like peas that are flying around. They're not really until you observe them, but they actually are these clouds, and these different orbitals have these electron clouds that are in different shapes.
Yeah.
So these equations that came up with that they realized that these subatomic particles in matter really exist as waves until they're measured and you find out the exact location. It started to turn out that they weren't just, that's just not a concept. It's actually how things work. And the mathematical proofs started to come out with that. And people were very confused. So then they ran the double slit experiment. I'm not going to explain the whole double slit experiment here. It's a very basic concept in quantum physics. If you want to look, there's other videos that explain it very, very well. But what now they find is that actually the particle, when it lands on the back wall, is landing as a particle, but somewhere along this waveform pattern. So they know it actually was behaving as a wave from point A to point C, B being the double slit first wall. Mm-hmm. So now we have this evidence in a repeatable, measurable experiment that reality, the matter, exists as a wave of potentiality until it's observed. And when it's observed and measured, you get this quantum observer effect where it collapses the wave function into a particle. Okay, how does this affect my life? How is this practical? Okay, everything is made of subatomic particles. We are made of this stuff. It's just that when you zoom out and you get to a Newtonian scale level where we're shooting bullets or we're kicking soccer balls or a coconut's going to fall out of a tree, the likelihood that the coconut is going to fall straight down to the ground is so high that we can predict with certainty the 99.99999% chance that it's going to go there. But because it's made of subatomic particles, there is actually always still a 0.0000001% chance that the coconut goes around the moon 3 times and comes back. That is actually possible. It's just very improbable. It's very unlikely, but it could. So infinite possibilities, everything is possible in the universe. And the beautiful thing is that as subject and object, there's an observer and an observed, we can actually start to affect how the reality of whatever this soup, this thought field of quantum potentials manifests into a particle, because there's a wave-particle duality. We can actually affect how material reality collapses into the particle, into the 3D, into the dense material that we experience. And the way we do that is with, like what you said, you put an intention out there. You wanted to meet a couple that was just like, what were their names?
John and Missy Butcher.
John and Missy Butcher. So that was your intention. That's a frequency. So you put that out there. And the longer you focus on it, the more you're increasing, because as the observer, you're going to collapse this wave function. You're increasing the probability that it's going to manifest as that over time, more and more and more and more. And the more you believe it, the more likely it is, because it has to do with faith. And oftentimes, when we haven't gotten to that place yet, the meditation and the consistency is actually just increasing our knowing that it's going to happen. And whatever we really truly believe, we get. Whatever we really want, what we fully have faith in is what exists. So if you think that it's hard to make money and that you have to work hard, that's the experience you're going to have, because you're just not open to receiving the effortless, joyful, pleasurable experience that could be possible. But when you open up to manifesting true abundance, that it's all on point, it's all fun to work, and it's actually pleasurable, and we get to collaborate and enjoy the entire process, you now open yourself up to that possibility, even if you don't believe it's true yet. When you start to practice that and you see examples and evidence in your life that it is true, and things start to come through, clients out of nowhere, and I didn't even do any marketing. How did this person even find me? I didn't even... Yeah. You start exercising this muscle, then you start to believe it more, and it's a feedback loop, and then you can actually start to ground into, that is just how reality works, and that's how my life tends to go, and I like to live this way, and I'm glad that I know it's true.
So for anyone watching or listening, you're gonna go back the last 10 minutes, and that is the entire message of the podcast: how to actually manifest from scratch, understanding quantum physics.
Correct.
And understanding how reality actually works, if you believe reality works that way.
Yeah, because it depends on what you want to create.
Yeah. And I think what you said also is, there's two things that I want to just put a pin on as well. Is number one, that's also why when you bring a lot of people together to think of a specific intention, whether it's positive or negative, it's more likely to happen.
Yes. Yeah, because there's a compounding effect. You have this consciousness, and then a bunch of other people with their own consciousness get together, and it's like this consciousness starts to bubble together, and you get this collective consciousness, and that's so powerful, and everyone has the same intention, and they all get together and focus on the same thing. That's why companies can become really successful, is everybody's working towards a common goal. They all believe in a common vision. And the collective network of observers starts to determine reality.
Yeah.
I had a moment I still remember when I was 7 years old. And I was learning about all these different religions of the world and faiths. And, there's Christianity, and they believe that when you die, you either go to heaven or hell based on how good you are, or based on if you believe in this one guy named Jesus, if he was, the savior or whatnot. And then you have Hinduism, and they believe in reincarnation, that there's cycles, and that when you die, you get reborn. And depending on what you did in this life or other lives, it'll depend on what animal or what realm you get born into. Mm-hmm. And then there's Buddhism that has a similar belief. And then there's kind of like, this atheistic scientific view that the light just turns off, you go on the ground, that's it, right? There's nothing. It's over. And I started to think, what if whatever one you chose to believe in was the one that happened for you? And now looking back at my 7-year-old self, I go, that's actually seems to be true. It seems to be right. That's what really happens.
That is crazy. And it goes back, and I've been hearing about this. I can go to specific. I was listening Eckhart Tolle, Power of Now.
Yeah. Huge impact on me. Yes.
He talks about how Christians have this sense of carrying the cross, and how through suffering or carrying your cross, you reach this enlightenment, or you reach this peace and surrender. But that is not the only way to go. Mm-hmm. And I've seen certain people that going even to the Christian faith and have to have this sense of carrying their cross to then feel the surrender. But that again is just one choice and one way to live life. It's not the way to live life.
Yeah, I love Christ, and I love a lot of the teachings of Christianity. And, Buddha, for instance, on the other side, if we want to look at another amazing teacher who had lots of gifts to share with the world and has helped me tremendously personally, is all about how do we liberate from suffering? So on that angle, you could say, okay, suffering is the way into heaven, which is liberation. And, you know, on this other side, saying, well, actually, you don't have to go suffer at all. You can let go of attachment. You can, you know, patience when anger comes up. And then those are the first steps. And then when you get to the next part, there's more steps. And actually, you can just completely be free of suffering.
Mm-hmm.
You try it and it works. There's so many different approaches, and I've studied a lot of these different things, and it's kind of weird to hodgepodge and mash things together that work for me. But I mean, how else are you going to figure it out? How else are you going to be happier if you don't try things? I think anybody that says my way is the only way, I would just kind of take that with a grain of salt and go, okay, maybe your way works, but unless you've literally tried every possibility, which is impossible, you can't know that it's the only way. Like, okay, I'm willing to open up my mind and try what has worked for you, because it might work for me as well, and do an experiment here. But you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Going back to the manifestation part, how important is focus for manifestation or for bringing these things? Because I say I want to manifest my partner and also $1 million and also my new house and also this and also that. How important do you think it is for you to choose one for now versus trying to choose everything?
Okay, so this is actually a really big topic. Focus, I don't think you can manifest or create anything if you're not staying on one track to get to the destination. If you keep switching train tracks constantly and you're going down one road and then you go to a different road, you're never going to get anywhere. You're just going to end up somewhere it's chaotic. So in order to get anywhere, you need to stay on that same path until you arrive at the destination, right? Now, when I was a kid, this happened to many kids in my class and I think in my generation in the 90s. These pharmaceutical companies came out with these ADHD medications, Adderall, turned into Vyvanse or amphetamines. And in order to sell more, they came up with new DSM-5 diagnoses for, attention deficit disorder, attention hyperactive disorder. So if a kid can't sit in a desk in a white room, staring at a whiteboard, perfectly focused for 8 hours a day, that's a disorder, right? Mm-hmm. Of course not. They need to be running around and having fun and playtime and in nature. But now, okay, well, this is the solution. Parents having a hard time dealing with their kid, they're like, okay, let's prescribe them this medicine. So basically they put me on drugs and I had really bad side effects. Well, it turns out Dr. Gabor Maté, I read his book Scattered. This made perfect sense when I read it on, it's about ADD. If you're a little kid and you're stressed, you're going to go into survival mode. That's fight, flight, flee. Well, if you can't fight because you can't win, you can't flee because there's nowhere to go, you go into freeze and you can't pay attention anymore and you just disconnect. So you're not present. You go off into your imagination, you're daydreaming, and you're just not focused. So, the kid's got, ADD. Well, what was his environment like? Were the parents fighting all the time? Were the teachers like abusive or less than nurturing? Was there something going on? Were they being bullied? Were they not getting enough of their needs met? Whether it's not just food, but just love, warmth, connection. What is going on around them? So having an environment where you can be present, get out of survival mode and into the present moment really is the first step to being able to focus, especially for somebody who doesn't have these tools yet. The next part is I was really fortunate that I found Vipassana early, and it's a 10-day meditation for 10 hours a day. Yeah. It's 100 hours meditation in a week and a half. It's a lot. It's intense. Yeah. You're just sitting there. And it's like going to the gym for your mind. You're just training your mind to be present and focused. And eventually they call it elephant lies down because it's this wild elephant rampaging around. Or the monkey mind, it's a monkey swinging from tree branch to thought to thought to thought to thought to thought. You can't focus. So if you sit down and you practice this, you just focus on your breath for the first 3.5 days. The mind becomes very sharp and disciplined. And that's when you realize, Eckhart Tolle, you are not your mind. So you train the mind like a wild animal. And coming out of that the first time, I was so laser beam focused and so present on what was going on. I just went, oh, my ADD's gone. It's like trying to lose weight by taking a diet pill instead of going to the gym and like changing your relationship with food, right? So you exercise the mind. So the focus, that was a prerequisite.
Yep.
Now, these other types of meditations are going to be much easier. So yeah, having a grounded, consistent, disciplined practice of some sort, whether it's just yoga, it doesn't matter what it is. That's the foundation from everything else that comes after.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's grounding, focus, and I don't think it's that you cannot have everything that you want to dream in life, but it's like, can you have one thing at a time?
Yeah.
You cannot eat your dessert and try to eat your hamburger at the same time.
Yeah.
It's not going to taste good.
Yeah, you know, can we go weird?
Yeah.
I'm going to go real weird now.
Always.
So this is a mystical experience for me. When we raise our frequency up high enough into love, there are actually beings that live up in these higher frequencies. Matter is the most dense form of energy. And when we start to get less dense and higher into these frequencies of joy and love and gratitude, I started to meet these other beings made of just love that were starting to give me information and communicate to me. And the wild thing is hundreds of other people were all saying that they were, having similar types of interactions. And so these beings are really, really beautiful and sort of silly and funny and mischievous. One of them told me about this. It was sort of a transmission. I was wondering about how is it that we can only experience one manifestation at a time? And it gave me the example of traffic. And I was sitting suddenly now at a stoplight, and all the traffic was going by, and my light was red, and then it stopped and it turned green, and then I went. Everybody else was stopped. And the analogy was that all of these different roads were timelines. These are all Mandelbrot multiverses where things are going on, but then when time stops, you're not aware because time has to be going for you to experience it. So if it stops, it's just stopped for you. Yeah. So for them, it wasn't going, and my road was green light, and we were all rolling, and then we stopped, and then everything, I saw the whole city in this analogy, this transmission, was red lights all over the city. Nothing was happening. Okay, time stopped for everybody. Boring. Nothing's going on. Well, what happens if all the lights turn green and all the timelines start to try to happen at the same time? Tons of destruction. Everybody's crashing. They all bash into each other. And the analogy was, oh, so that's why we can only experience one timeline at a time. We can't have many experiences of reality all at the same time because it would all just collide and it would be just total destruction. It'd be too much. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does. I realized that I've been being greedy with my manifestations in a way.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I want to keep traveling and also have the six-pack and also have the $1 million, right? So it's like, what do I choose? You have to choose something. And I realized that the things that I'm actually manifesting are the things that I'm focusing more. Mm-hmm. For example, I manifested a beautiful girlfriend.
Congratulations.
In Thailand, right? And I was focused there on the dating apps and also being present. And I got really clear on how would she look like, what she wanted, what are the values that she wanted. And for 6 months, I was on that journey, getting clear. And then it appeared. And now my girlfriend is like, oh, the most beautiful woman in the world.
Wow, right? Good for you.
So it's even more than what I realized, but now I'm trying to focus more on the business.
Yeah.
Right. And there has to be a point of having grace with yourself.
Yes.
Of, yes, you want that, because that's also your feminine part of you, of wanting all the things, but then having the structure of like when you can get those things little by little.
Yeah. And we can also, it's important to remember, have all these 3D boxes checked.
Yeah.
A lot of money, beautiful wife, great house, cool car, travel the world, all these things, and still be unhappy, right?
Exactly. So it doesn't matter what you manifest if you're not. That is not the happiness game. You cannot manifest happiness.
Where's your happiness come from? Ultimately, we think it comes from all these things, but we play the materialism game long enough, we realize it doesn't. It comes from within.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
And being totally present.
Yeah, and it's a muscle. Happiness, being grateful, having compassion for others. You practice it, and it gets stronger. But if you practice being frustrated and, pissed off or depressed or worried or any of these feelings, you're making those stronger. So it's good to atrophy that stuff and suffocate it, really. Just let it wither out and practice the strength of what would it feel like to be totally fulfilled in my life? What would it be like to be passionate about my work and what I do? And what if my dreams were already real? And a lot of people don't even know what they want, actually. They don't even know what their dreams are because they've never taken the chance to have courage and think about what that might be personally for them. I ask people, what do you want? And the first thing they talk about is what they don't want. Well, I don't want this and that and this, and I don't want some guy to be catcalling me on the street, or I don't want some guy to break my heart again, or I don't want girls that are gonna, treat me with disrespect, or I don't want to have to worry about money. I'm going, I asked you what you want. Like, tell me, because it's new. A lot of people they haven't even practiced this stuff before.
100%. 100%. It's like, I don't want to worry so much.
Yeah.
I don't want to, so exercise again, out of this podcast, think of one thing that you want in your life. Just one. Start with one. It's crazy. And even when traveling, it doesn't matter the country, it doesn't matter the person, but there's just a few people that have actually taken the time to think what they want.
That's true. And then actually have the courage to believe that they could create that experience in life, that it could happen. They could actually get it. A lot of times, for some reason, it's scary because it's unknown and they're used to their comfortable life they don't want. And they've forgotten that anything else is even possible. And they get stuck in the rut of the old habits, the old patterns every day, doing the same thing. And to break that pattern, that can be scary. But that's where all the magic happens, is outside of the known.
Outside of the known, and you're definitely a seeker of the unknown with the traveling part. So tell me, you've traveled. What has been your biggest insight about traveling this much?
Well, definitely my biggest insight from traveling the world so much, I've been to, I think, 30 countries, 31 or something. I always like to take long trips to each country. When I get back to America, people think that the rest of the world is just like America. I looked up, I think about 80% of Americans don't have a passport. It might be 60. You can check me on that. But when I come back to the US, people have this assumption that everywhere in the world is just like what they experience. And it's so not. There's such a bubble that we live in. And when people don't get out and travel, they don't know that there's any other way to live. And I've seen so many different unimaginable ways of living life that have just shattered my understanding of what the world is, to create whole new vistas of possibility of experiences that we could be having. it's my favorite part is going and living in dirt huts with people that are inviting me in and making me food. It's like, I didn't know that you could have an experience like this. Different traditions and cultures and languages. It's so much fun to just adventure and explore. That's, yeah. I mean, I'm so deeply grateful that the world is such a big place.
What's been the most interesting thing you found out about people?
Everybody wants the same thing. We are lied to on the news every day. It's all BS. It's all propaganda, fear, because that's what gets your attention. And it's not true. People want the same things. They want family, they want community, they want to be happy, they want to make sure their kids are well fed and doing well, they want a good education. That's it. Everybody wants the same stuff. Everybody's so friendly in life. You walk around and you meet people. Everyone's so kind, so loving, so warm. And when we believe anything different, everything on TV is fake. And now it constantly, we just have this little mind control device in front of our faces. And what gets your attention is the thing that triggers the survival response. And it's just fear, fear, fear. So it's like injecting fear like an IV into your veins. It's no bueno. When you look around at reality, it's a gift. People are so beautiful. They're so warm. They're so loving. Like that's what I want. And yes, the technology is amazing to be able to communicate. I can share this with thousands of people. But that's always a good reminder, is actually talking to people you realize we're all the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we stop focusing on our differences and start focusing on our similarities, we get to a much more harmonious personal existence for ourselves. And we're only going to change the world when we change ourselves, because you're part of the world. We can't complain and try to tear things down and expect it to get better.
Yeah.
We need to improve our own lives from within. And now we're showing up differently. And we just changed the world one little piece at a time.
And again, it's one piece at a time, but you've supported probably hundreds of people so far with your journey, from helping them, but also being an example of what is possible. So going back to your present, what took you to Bali and healing in Bali and supporting people here?
Over the last chapter of my life, I was living in Austin for about 4 or 5 years. It transitioned out of real estate into the healing that I'm doing now, and applied quantum physics to benefit your life. Full-time, running events in person around Austin, helping people one-on-one, starting to go online a little bit. And the chapter was over. I surrendered to the flow of life and felt it was time to move. I didn't know where. And I had some options. One of them was Colorado. One of them was here in Asia, on the other side of the planet. But this belief in my mind was, well, that's not realistic. Come on, get real. It's not practical. You can't just do that. You can't just move to the other side of the planet, not in the country you were raised, that you're a citizen, that you're born in. Well, the money. I'm like, well, why though? Oh, the money. There's so much more money in the US compared to a lot of other countries that are much cheaper. It's not really practical. It doesn't make sense to earn money there. You should just stay in the US so you can earn dollars. Okay, it seemed like a valid point. I don't know where these beliefs came from, but I had these beliefs. And I don't really know how much I buy into astrology, but I was curious about astrocartography.
Yeah.
Where different locations around the planet have different influences on you, depending on your birth chart and where you were born, and where the planets were when you were born, and different gravitational forces through the cosmos. Maybe. Okay, I don't know. But I ended up moving to Boulder. I had a lot of overlap with community and friends that were there. My brother lived there, so it was support. It felt okay, let's try this out. I like skiing. There's Vail, there's the Rockies, the mountains. I grew up skiing. So I moved to Boulder. I said, I'm going to try out Boulder. And I looked at the astrocartography when I got there, and it said, this is going to be for you about proving your iron will and, hard work. And well, this doesn't sound nice. I don't want this. I don't know if this is going to work out for me, but I don't really know how much I want to give my power to this whole astrology thing. So whatever. And I just tried it out. And for some reason, I started having all of these physical health problems come up. My back started really hurting, a lot of pain from an old jiu-jitsu injury. I know you practice jiu-jitsu as well.
Yeah.
And then, I've had migraines off and on. They got really a lot worse. They'd last longer. They were more painful and more frequent. I'm like, what is going on? I was in a hospital. I was going to the ER. I went and got a primary care physician there, a neurologist, went and saw a specialist, a physical therapist. I couldn't really do much. It was really bad. I was in pain almost every day. Oof. And I started to think to myself, what am I doing? I teach people how to heal for a living. I need to apply my knowledge in my own life right now. I need to practice what I preach. Yep. If I can't do this, I shouldn't be on a podcast. I shouldn't be making content. I shouldn't be telling anybody how to do anything unless I can do this myself. Yep. So I tuned in and I thought, okay, what would it be like if all this pain was gone? What would it be like if I was totally healed, if I was in perfect health, if I was vibrant, radiant, with vitality? What would it be like if I was in my purpose again? Because I had to fall out of this work and I went back to old construction stuff for a while. I needed that time. I just felt like I needed to get into my body and do hard physical labor and get grounded. Because a lot of times meditating all the time can kind of put you out and up into your head. And thought I need to get back to earth. So that was really helpful for me. And then when I started tuning into what that would feel like to be back in my purpose, back on the saddle, and doing what I know is the most fulfilling that I was put here on earth to do, and things that I've been given as gifts, as talents that I have, I started wondering if it was location related. And I went back to the astrocartography and I thought, and I asked AI, ChatGPT, I go, where are the top, I gave him my birth chart and my birthday and wherever. And I asked it, what are the top 3 places, according to my astrocartography, where I would live? And the first one was Bali. Bali, I've been thinking about that a lot. I've been talking to a lot of other people about Bali. It's been coming up already. There's been synchronicities about Bali. And I asked both of my roommates my housemates at the time had been to Bali. And they both said they had an awesome experience. They said, oh, you'd love it. It's great. And I go into my note a couple days later on my phone, I'm just scrolling through my notes, and I found one. I don't remember writing this note, but a year before, there was 6 locations that were written down, and 5 of them had a red X and 1 green check mark at the top that said Bali. I didn't remember writing this note. What? I thought, what the heck? Okay, so
chills here.
Let me explore. What would it be like if I were to make the decision to move to Asia? And 6 months before, a friend had said, well, why don't you move to Asia? Because I was debating where to live also, still back then, moving out of Austin. I thought, well, that's weird. I don't know if that's possible. So her voice is in my head. And then I felt into what would that feel like? It felt like coloring outside of the lines and being creative and having fun and lots of color painting and being silly and playful and yeah, just little kid, like child energy and flowing with life. And then when I tuned into staying in Colorado where I was, for me personally, my system and the chemistry with the area felt like cold, hard, some metallic, like trudging with your head down, moving forward. Okay, well, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should. And so okay, I'm going to make the decision and see what happens. And in 3 days, all my pain went away. Whew. My migraines, my back pain, was all gone. Huh? Okay. I guess I'm moving to Asia, so I bought the flight and just started packing and making plans. And because I surrendered what I thought was going to be good for me to feeling into the signals and the signs, these God winks, these synchronicities, and what is this greater intelligence, this higher power? Name your higher power. What does it want for me? Well, I just felt into what was more alive, what was more natural. Life doesn't have to be anything. And my beliefs changed, thank God. Well, actually, now I'm making more money than I ever have. We just sold out. We sold half our retreat tickets in the last 2 weeks since launching, and it's still 2 months away. It's in October, on October 25th. It's going to be here. It's absolute paradise, 5-star location, and we're going to sell out at this rate. Absolutely, we're going to sell out. And I feel so much happier. And I realized I was trying out Boulder, and here I said I'm going to live in Asia. Now I get to go to all these other cool fun places. I get to go to Japan. I could go to Thailand. I could go to Vietnam. I could go to the Philippines. I've never been. I could go back to China. I love the Chinese people. I love China. It's awesome there.
Yeah.
So, I have access to all these new parts of the world I haven't explored yet.
Yeah.
So that was a long-winded answer, but the deeper lesson in there was about healing and about surrendering to the flow and doing what feels right, tapping into the body and listening to your intuition in spite of all these rigid beliefs we might have, all these limitations that we've built up in our mind. And, we've been domesticated as children, like we have to domesticate animals into our pets. My friend Marcy Locke, who I'm about to go do another podcast with her soon in a couple of days, in her book, The Awakened Being, she talks about rewilding from being domesticated as kids, where all these beliefs that would not have been in my best interest to follow this belief. It's not realistic. It's not practical. There's more money in the US. You should stay. That would have been miserable. I'm so glad I didn't listen to those beliefs. I don't know where they came from, but freedom happens when you start to act free, you start to behave free, then things start to change. So, yeah.
So you're playing.
Yeah.
And you'd never get tired of playing.
No, you can't compete with someone who's having fun.
No.
They're going to beat you every time.
Yep. Yep. So it's the game. It's the game. And I think in your retreat, that was in the website, like, what are the 3, there's 2 words. So it's fun and play or something, love and play.
Yeah. We're calling it eat, play, love. Because everybody says, people have been telling me for, 17 years, have you ever read Eat, Pray, Love? Oh, you should really read Eat, Pray, Love. I still haven't read it, but we wanted to have fun and just play. So we're calling it Eat, Play, Love. And we have Michelin star chefs. We're going to have lots of playtime. We're going cave tubing. We're going to sauna cold plunge. We're going to the rice fields. We're going to have lots of playtime. And we're going deep into love. And that's when people's lives totally change. Physiologically, ailments will start to disappear. Pain will go away because love heals all. They say time heals all wounds. But love is outside of time. And love heals instantaneously. Love heals all wounds. So we're doing eat, play, love.
And even going back to what truly is what brought you here, is like that self-love of the craft, right? You had to go back to things that you didn't love and you were sad and miserable. You came back to the thing that you love and serving, and now you're in love with yourself and in love with life.
Much more so. And what a gift to be reminded that contrast is where depth comes from. Even in painting, you gotta have dark to put light, and then you see the depth. So that contrast and all that pain created a much greater appreciation in my life for the good parts, for the light.
Awesome. So excited for what's to come. So you have, again, tell a little bit the viewers, how can they work with you? How can they connect? You have this event in Bali. Explain a little bit more. Where is it? How can they get the tickets?
Yes.
And how can they work with you?
So the retreat is the main focus right now. It's the first of many. It's on October 25th until November 1st. I want to come a day or two early. A lot of people are getting an Airbnb together for the jet lag, and it's going to be the best experience of your life. If you're meant to come and you're feeling the frequency, don't let the mind get in the way. Sign up. Again, this is going to sell out, and there's only 19 spots. We're going to fall in love with our lives, with each other. We're going to support each other. Everyone will get a chance to give and receive, and healers get healed. I've seen it thousands of times. This is our chance to practice. And if you're needing some sort of a shift in your life, or you just want to come and have an epic trip of a lifetime and just play and get to connect with people, this is for you. This is it. Other ways to connect with me, you can go to my website, scottgreenleaf.com, send a message on Instagram. I do limited one-on-ones. As of this recording, I have one spot available for one-on-ones. And I do a free call every Sunday for just my service to the world and as a gift. Every week we get on at 7 p.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. So come and be a part of loving another into life. And yeah, that practice, it's my favorite thing in the world.
So I have two more questions for you. So the first one is like back to the past and to the future. If you could tell something your 15-year-old self, Scott, when he was 15 years old, what is one sentence that you would tell him?
It gets better. Not only does it get better, life is going to get better than you could ever imagine it right now.
Now let's go into the future. Scott at 50. What is one question that you would ask him?
What is the most important question I should be asking right now?
Scott, it's been a privilege having you on.
Thank you.
Hope to hear from you soon.
Beautiful.